Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Art and Business of Writing podcast. I am your host, Chris Jones, where today I am fired up to bring you Candy Zulkosky, also known as KZ, to her clients and friends. Candy is a writer success coach. That is her name, Candy Zulkosky, the writer success coach. And she brings joy in transforming writers into authors, taking their dreams and visions of entrepreneurship, coaching, speaking, and turning those into a reality. So whether the message is being carried by blog, email, social media, or in books, Candy uses her 30 plus years of experience to get your message heard and seen. Today, Candy and I are going to deconstruct the idea of book launch. I know that for a lot of authors, book launch can be very stressful because I think oftentimes we pack it up into a solitary event. My book is going to be launched on this day or this month. But book launch, as Candy breaks down in this interview, starts at the conception of the book. So once you decide to write your book and you've become clear on your idea, that's your beginning launch sequence. So Candy's going to break all that down for you from start to finish and beyond. It's an exciting interview. You're going to love Candy. And without further ado, here she is. Hey, Candy, welcome to the Art and Business of Writing podcast.
Thank you, Chris. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this interview. How are you today?
I am doing great. It's a cloudy, rainy day here at the beach, and what could be better?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know we've got the clouds and the rain too. You're on the East Coast?
I am, yes.
Yeah, me too. So must be something going up and down the coast. But so before we kick off, you have an interesting nickname. Like, how did you become KZ, like Jay-Z?
Oh yeah, isn't that a fun name? I love my nickname, and it is a funny story because my name is Candy. My real name is Candy, so I have a nickname for a name. Think about it. That's right. A nickname.
Yeah.
Well, I never got a nickname, and all my friends had nicknames, and I always wanted one. Well, a coach years ago, one of my coaches, Gary Barnes, I'll give his name, he gave me the nickname KZ because I was complaining that I never had a nickname. And it stuck, and I've been using it ever since. And the reason I use it online is because Candy is a name, a word. It's a name, yes, but it's also has some connotations that sometimes can get you in trouble as a single woman online. So professionally, I use KZ, but I'm both KZ and Candy.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it was because, your last name was, got butchered or people just couldn't pronounce your last name and just kind of said, oh, let's just call you KZ.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
So tell us, how is your last name pronounced?
It is pronounced Zulkosky.
There we go. So for the record, now you guys got it. So since Jay-Z raps, does KZ rap?
No.
No?
She doesn't sing either, but she writes very well.
Okay, that's half the battle. But you do drop lots of wisdom. And here's a piece of wisdom from KZ's website. Every author is unique. Every person has something of value to share, and every message needs to be heard. When I read that, I fell in love with that. I was like, yes, that is like the core message of writing books. Why is it important to remind people that their stories are worth telling despite there being similar books on the marketplace? Because that's always the thing when an author approaches, it's like, well, but someone's already written that story. Someone's already told that story. Someone's already had this issue. Like, why is it important for them to share their unique perspective on their story?
You actually used the word that's most important there, and that is unique. Everyone may have spoken on the topic, but they have not told their story. So that particular unique story has not yet been communicated. And I don't care who you are, you deserve to share your story. Your story is important to be shared and to be heard. If you have a message that you feel passionate about and that you want others to know, then you deserve to be heard.
Yeah, no, I totally side with you on that. There are so many amazing stories out there that never get heard. They're never told. They're never passed on. So I think just the things that we do as authors and coaches is that being able to help them extract those stories. It's such an important thing that we do.
Truly is. And another part to that is, and I'll mention this, a lot of people think that a story means fiction. It doesn't. A story is told in nonfiction as well as fiction. Anything in a book, any well-written book tells a story, maybe several stories. Doesn't matter whether it's fiction story coming out of the imagination or a real story coming out of experience. It's still a story.
Absolutely. And let's dive into your bio a little bit because I want you to go in there and tell me how you became the writer success coach. How did you become the person who helps people extract their stories?
Okay. Oh, that's always fun. I've always been a writer, and I've always been a teacher, a trainer. When I was a kid, all my friends called me their psychiatrist, so I was the one they always came to solve their problems. And so it's just in my whole life. I wrote my first piece that I was paid for when I was still in high school. It was for a regional newspaper, and I was paid $5. And I'm telling you that they're not paying much more than that now. but but I did start there way back in high school, and I discovered early on that no matter what job I took, because I have had other jobs in my career, but no matter what job I took, I was always the person who was teaching, and I was always writing. And everything that I chose took me along this path to be a writer and to teach other people how to write. Even when I was working with a critique with one of my early critique groups, and I became an agent because they asked me to. Okay, still everything that I was doing, even volunteer work, was turning into something to help people write and publish. And when print on demand came into being, I knew that I had really found my home.
Wow, that's a great story. Yeah, that whole bit about being the psychiatrist. I just finished co-authoring a book with someone, and she's like, my secrets more than anybody else does, and it's a privilege,
Yes.
It's a privilege when someone has that much confidence in you, where they feel
Yeah,
comfortable telling you their story.
that's absolutely true. It is. It's a privilege, it's an honor, and it's a responsibility.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you've built a publishing company called Manifest Publishing. Tell us how you created that.
I didn't actually found it. The founder is her name. God, I'm gone out of my head completely. Manifest Publishing was founded by Tanya Loring, and Tanya is still a part of the company, although she no longer handles any part of the publishing side of it. She writes, and her own books are published through Manifest Publishing. Then we found each other online, believe it or not, and she came into my life at a time when I was looking to bring up my own publishing company. And she said, well, why don't you come in and build mine and take it over? And that's what I've done. Is now we're working, like I said, she's no longer doing the publishing side. I do that. And I am very happy to have that partnership. She created the basic structure, which I was already doing in another publishing company. I have another publishing company that I don't really do anything with anymore, because I prefer to build Manifest Publishing.
Okay, very cool. So, what do you love about coaching authors and helping them to publish their books?
Well, what I love is perhaps not what they love. It's hard to say. I love the kick I get out of it when they have success. It's the same thing when I was teaching. What I love best about teaching and helping people in general is very selfish, because it's how I benefit. I benefit by their success and by playing a small part in their success. That's what I love about it. There's an addiction to that.
Now, how many authors have you worked with?
I was counting that up the other day, and I am over 50 authors now. I was surprised in my current iteration. If I go back to years ago when I was working in critique groups, it goes up a lot higher. I was the president of a statewide writers group many years back. So that would put me in the hundreds, because their membership was up close to 1,000 members. So, but directly one-on-one, I'm over 50.
Over 50. Wow. And are you working with fiction, nonfiction? Which genres are you working with primarily? Or
Yeah, interestingly enough, I work with both, and that's unusual. Most coaches and most writing coaches, most people who are doing the sort of work I'm doing, work either one or the other. But since my background is in both, I'm able to help both and do. I have right now 2 young men who are writing fiction, and they're having a great time with it. And the rest of my clients are nonfiction. Most of them are at this point.
yeah. So what's a key lesson that you've held on to since your days when you started as the writer success coach to now? What's something that you've learned that you felt like has made you better, stronger, and wiser in your career?
I would have to say that would be don't stop. You can always quit, but just don't stop. Just don't stop.
I like that. I like that a lot. keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Yep.
Darren Hardy says something that I've totally adopted now as my own. Is like, he says, I want to be the tortoise in the race.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, things go slow. People are ahead of you, but if you just stay the course and run your race, you're going to still finish ahead.
Right.
All right. So today we're going to talk about how to nail your book launches. That's something that you've had experience with, something you've done very well with your authors.
Yes.
So walk us through a basic timeline for book launching, because I think for the most part, authors tend to think about book launch as a singular event and not a 3 to 6 month progression or more leading up to the event and then going beyond. So I want you to walk us through your sequence.
Well, the first thing to understand about a book launch is that it does not start after the book is launched.
Right.
Well, and that sounds simple, and we're laughing about it because it is humorous. But the reality is that many authors, especially authors who are not experienced in the process of publishing or not interested in the process of publishing, don't think that that's a separate step. That, okay, I'm going to write the book, I'm going to get it published, and then I'll start marketing it. Well, no, you start marketing it the day you start writing it. You really do. When you are writing your book, when you have the idea for your book, once you get clear on what the topic of your book is going to be and what the message is that you're going to share in that book, what your story is going to be, then you start on the launch. Your first step in the launch is the cover. That may surprise you to hear that. That may surprise some of your readers to think about that. But it is true. Doing the cover, even if it's not the final cover, doing the cover is the first step in your book launch, because that is going to do two things. One, it gives you something solid that you can look at and you can dream about. Okay. And two, it's creating that direction that is going to help carry you through the process, because getting a book from idea to printed page is a process, and there are a lot of steps along the way. There's a movement out there right now, which works very well for some people, that takes a book where it's called rapid write, launch and release, something like that. It's got a name and I never remember it. But what their concept is that you write a book every 30 days. And you write 3 books to begin with, and you launch those 3 books, 1, 2, 3, one after the other, literally within 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. And then you keep writing month after month. Every 30 days a book. This is happening in fiction, and this is print on demand, obviously. Okay, and there are writers who are doing very well with that. The reality is, most writers are not going to write a book every month. Okay, unless you really have a desire to turn your writing into that sort of business, which is great. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. If that's what you want to do, check in with me and I'll put you in touch with the people who can teach you how to do that. Okay, happy to do that. But the reality is that for most people, a book launch is a process that takes place throughout the entire publishing and writing process. I want to give you a chance. I'm going to stop here for a second and see if you had a question.
Yeah, well, let's unpack that first step. We talk about that you launch the book the moment you get clarity on it. So what's
Yes.
So with that, you mentioned just having the cover as the first step. So once I've gotten clarity on the idea, I know what I'm going to write about. So should I just hop into, if I'm not a designer, do I hop into Canva and just mark something up? Do I hire a designer? What are your recommendations, just so that I have that piece of tangible, this is my goal in my face all the time?
I always recommend that the cover be done by a designer. It doesn't have to be done by the designer up front at the beginning. If you are a writer who happens to be comfortable in Canva or in creating graphics, by all means, go in and create your first cover yourself. But don't expect or use that one as your final. Okay, but it's a great starting point. Covers need to be designed. Once you've got that cover, you want to continue on in the process. The front cover is not the only part. Keep in mind that your cover is, if you think about a book, okay, when you look at a book, okay, I know your audience can't see this, but I'm holding a book in my hands. What's the first thing you do when you pick up a book? You look at the cover. I like that. That's interesting. You like the title, you like the subtitle, you turn it over, you read something on the back. What's on the back cover entices you to open up and read what's inside. Okay. So your book launch continues, the process of your book launch continues as you write the back cover copy, because that is your marketing copy. That's part of the book launch. So you have to write your bio. You have to write your description for the book. You have to go out and ask people, you get to go out and ask people to read the book. So as you get that first manuscript done, you're going to want to ask a couple of friends to read the book, what you've done so far, so that you can get testimonials, so that they can say how this book has changed their life, and why the reader, person who's browsing and looking at this book, will want to pick it up, buy it, and read it. So once the cover is done, front and back, okay, you're still not done. You're still launching, because now you have to build that community. A book launch needs a community behind it. Okay, what I'm talking about there is, okay, I wrote a book. I put a post on Facebook. My book's out. Great. I have 10 friends. How many books do you think I'm going to sell?
Right. Well,
Exactly.
if the law of averages is right, you'll sell one.
Yeah, your mother.
one in every 10. So.
And we're being funny about it, because it is funny to think about it in those terms. But that's part of the launch process, is building that community. You want to build up your list of your group of fans before you even have the book written. As you're writing it, build up the excitement for the fact that you're writing this book. Let people know you're writing it. Now, that doesn't mean that you go online and you write up a synopsis and you tell everybody what it's all about.
Right.
No, you share your enthusiasm and your excitement for the process and where you are in that process, so that people can join you in that fun. And so that when you do get to the point that that book is ready to actually be launched physically, that those people are going to share that excitement with you, their friends. And instead of having 10 friends on your Facebook page, you're going to have the 5,000 friends they have on their page.
Right. So when you talk about building community, you're talking about, would you recommend building a Facebook group for your book? Building your email list, building your social media networks around the book?
I would recommend all of that. Yes. And that's actually a topic, an entirely different topic for another day, but definitely I do recommend Facebook. It's a huge way to build your network and to create a fan base. And I also recommend that you look at, if you're doing nonfiction, you look at LinkedIn, okay, because that's a great place for nonfiction. What you want to focus on, and your list, exactly. You do want to focus on a list. If you don't have a list yourself, then cultivate the relationships with people who do have a list, who are interested in your book. If they like the topic of your book, then they will certainly want to talk to you about it.
Right. It's always easy to build off an existing foundation,
Yes, it is. So, that's very, very big for beginning writers, especially, but even for established writers. You may have a great network in your career and nothing in the category that you're interested in writing about, if it doesn't happen to be for work. Right. So at that point, you want to look at building that network for your book specifically. And that means creating a web page for your book.
Yes. And that's really smart, too, is to develop the email list as you go along, as you're writing from start to finish. Because, chances are most writers are going to take, 6 to 8 to 12 months to get their book done. That gives you an entire year of lead time to build a nice, substantial email list and keep people updated.
Yes, exactly. So very good.
Yeah, so continue on with the launch sequence. So we've established that, we're going to market from the beginning. We're going to get a cover. We're going to build the community around it. What's next?
Okay. Well, all this whole time you're writing, okay, you're getting the book done, you're writing it, you're editing it, you're having it proofread, you're getting it ready to publish, you're going through the publishing process, however you choose to follow up on that, okay? And as part of this process, one of the things you're going to want to do is to create a media kit, okay? And a media kit is very simple. If you have ever done any public speaking or worked with in any way where you're introducing yourself to the public, okay, a media kit simply is a package of information, probably a PDF or a Word file, that has everything that someone who wants to market your book can find in one place. If you're a speaker, you may have heard the term speaker sheet or a one sheet. That's what we're talking about here. A media kit simply takes all of those material, all of the marketing materials and information that not your reader necessarily, but the person who you believe can help you to market your book, okay, will want to have in one package so that you can quickly send it out to them. You also want to put that on your website. You're creating a website for your book. That website for your book needs to get up there early. Even if they can't order the book, that's how you're going to build your marketing list. Okay. So this is all happening, and this should be happening before you get the book finished. It's part of the process.
Right.
Okay.
Now let's dive into that the website portion as
Yes.
part of the overall launch strategy. Now, let's say I'm a business owner. I'm writing my first book. I'm excited about the book, and then you're telling me, well, hey, you need a website. Well, can I just put my book on my website? Why is it important? And then you tell me, well, no, I shouldn't do that. I should have a website just for the book. Why is it important to have a separate website just for your book?
It's important. Well, if your book happens to be about your work, that's a different matter. But let's assume in this scenario that your book has nothing to do with your work. This is your book, which is about fishing. Okay, you're writing about the value of fishing in the sea instead of freshwater, whatever it might be. So it makes no sense for you to put that on your company website if what you have is a bakery for a business. Okay, so what you want to do is, and when I say website, Chris, I don't mean a big blown out production. One page is fine. Okay, one page with everything on it that you need: a picture of the cover, okay, information about the what's on the back cover, that's all on there, and then how they can get a hold of you and how they can order the book. That's all you really need on that website. Now, you're going to find there's a lot of people who put a lot more information than that, but it's not necessary. What you need is a place where they can find just that book. And here's the real kicker. You want to make sure that you get a domain name that is going to be, if not your book title, which may not be available, it needs to say what your book is about in a way that people will be able to find it, searchable, and more importantly, in a way that you can easily give it out. Okay. So those are the key parts to the website. It's a place to put your media kit. It's a place that also, kind of like the cover, it also says to you as the writer, hey, this is real. It's happening.
Absolutely. And it's also a great place to do lead capture as well, right?
Yes, and that really, you really are going to capture your market, your leads there. That's where you're going to begin to build the readership. If you're really comfortable with writing in a short form, you could include a blog on that website, but it's not necessarily for everyone. Some writers will be comfortable with that and others will not be. You have to really, in order to make a blog work in this formula, you have to really commit to writing the blog on a regular basis. And if you're already writing a book, perhaps in your part-time, maybe starting a blog is not the best choice.
All right. So what's next in the launch sequence?
Okay, so let's see. Now we've got our website, we've got our book out. All right, so we're down to launch day. Okay, you have to have that. Remember that community I told you about?
Right.
One of the things that, well, now's the time when you have that launch team in place. That community. You will have created some emails for them to send out, some suggested emails for them to send out. You will have created some suggested posts for them to send out to their social media. You want to give them all of the tools so that all they have to do is hit the button. Okay. So on launch day, you want to communicate with your launch team. And perhaps you want to look at doing a promotion as far as a price promotion goes. Amazon, for instance, allows you to do, I think every 6 months. It used to be 3 times a year, but I think they've changed it every 6 months. You can do a special promotion where they will increment your pricing down from 99 cents from free to 99 cents to $2.99. or you can do that yourself over time as well. So there are promotions that you can plan for, and this is when you implement them. You have the book ready. You're ready to hit it's already, at this point, Chris, the book is already on Amazon. Okay? The links are in place. You haven't necessarily publicized it yet, because you don't necessarily want people to come and order it too soon. But you have to choose a date for your launch when everything is already in place. The last thing you want is to publicize, to have your whole team in place, ready to go, and then the link is down because you didn't get it all put together in time. Okay? Or because Amazon took it down because you weren't ready yet.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen.
So the timing is important there, but that's why you have that set up ahead of time. We didn't talk about the launch date, but when you're choosing a launch date, that's part of this process. Look for a date that means something to your audience.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, I always say that to my writers. I say, look for a date that means something. I've got a writer who's coming out soon with her book. She's a nurse, and so she's tied it to an event that celebrates nurses, a national event that celebrates nurses. So and that's important to her. So that's why we chose that date. Okay.
Now that's exciting. No, so once we get the launch established and we're ready to start sharing the book with people, how often do I email? How often do I post? Because I know that's a big thing with a lot of writers, especially writers who typically tend to be a little more shy on social media and don't want to intrude or stuff people's news feed with things. But what are your thoughts on, emailing frequency and then posting frequency when you're launching your book?
Your launch sequence, you need at least 3 to 5 emails in the sequence itself. Okay, so letting them know it's out there, and this is important. The first one says, "Hey, it's coming." The next one says, "Hey, it's here." The next one says, "Hey, it's here. Did you miss it?" Okay, and that sort of thing. And then at some point, in all of them, you want to ask them to go back to buy the book and to leave testimonials. And then however many emails you choose to send out to your list in this process, and however many posts you put out, at some point after you've begun to get sales coming in, you want to begin also posting, asking for those testimonials. Remember that the fun part of this is right at the very beginning when we launch the book. And you're hopefully going to have lots of sales right then, but then all of a sudden it's going to go down because that fun part is over. Well, how you continue to build that launch and sort of relaunch in a sense is by continuing to stay in touch with your audience, to continue to touch them frequently on email and in social media, and ask them to write the testimonials. Those testimonials are important. The reason they're important is because the person who doesn't know you is going to look at those testimonials to make the decision to buy the book. You really are not going to be successful as you'd like to be if the only market you have are the people you know. The key is to get it out there to the people that they know and who don't know either of you. And those testimonials on the book are huge, especially one that's given by someone who actually bought the book.
Right. And speaking of people giving you testimonials or leaving you Amazon reviews during the launch phase, how do you recommend that people do that? How do you recommend, because I know that Amazon has an algorithm for just how testimonials flow in the frequency, and you know what I mean?
They sure do, yeah. Go to Amazon and leave the testimonial. You can, if you want to, when you write the testimonial, I recommend that you make a copy of it, just copy and paste, and send it to the author as well, because the author may want to use that testimony elsewhere if you know them. And yeah, the importance as far as Amazon is concerned of those testimonials, the importance there is that they take a lot more weight. There's a lot more weight given in the algorithm to testimonials that come from someone who's bought the book. You can't ask your mother who lives at the same address to give a testimonial because it will be done. It'll be taken down. Okay, you can't have people that you know. Amazon doesn't allow that, and so you need to make sure that you're getting the testimonials from real sources. You also have something called an Author Central page that you can set up as part of the process. And actually, I should have brought that in earlier when we were doing the website. I would have done that as well. And on the Author Central page, you can add 3 what are called referrals, okay? Reviews, rather, not referrals, reviews, professional reviews. And you, the author, get to add these, but you, the author, cannot write them. They have to be written by someone else. They then submit that to you. For instance, okay, let's say that we've got our fisherman who's writing his book, okay? Well, he has a friend who, the guy that actually taught him how to tie fishing lures, okay? And he wants this guy to give him a review of the book. Well, he's going to ask, you, the author, is going to ask him for that review. You're going to get it in. And then you, the author, will put that on your Author Central page. And Amazon bumps that right up to the top. Okay? Referrals are number 1. Number 2 are testimonials that are from people who bought the book. And number 3 are just general testimonials that are, and both good and bad, of course.
Wow, those are great things to know. Thank you for sharing those.
You're welcome.
Those are excellent to know. So what's left in our launch sequence? So the book is out. We're broadcasting, letting people know that the book is available to them. What's next?
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, something I heard that was great. Are you familiar with Ryan Holiday?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ryan said something really cool about, and he was doing an interview about his book, Perennial Selling, and talked about, someone asked him about promoting books and pushing his books. And he says, you should promote your book for as long as it took you to write it.
Oh, I love that. I hadn't heard that. I love that. Yeah. I think, but I'd go further with that.
Yeah.
I'd say promote your book for as long as it took you to write it, and then keep promoting it while you're writing the next one. So, yeah, I don't think you ever stop promoting.
Yeah.
And you can do relaunches. You can, anytime you want to, if you've got something special that's coming up that you'd like to celebrate, you can go back in and you can redo promotions that Amazon has. For instance, I'm using Amazon because most of us are actually distributing through Amazon these days. You can also, when it comes to continuing the promotion, keep in mind that you can take your book and give away a digital version. Okay, or tie it to Amazon as a promotion where if they buy the printed version, they get the digital one for $2.99. Okay, so you have to subscribe to that particular feature in Amazon. But if you want, in CreateSpace, actually, I think it is, and if you want to do that, you can. These are the sorts of choices that you can make after you've done the initial launch. Okay, after you've got that initial fun out of the way, and it is fun, actually. It is a great deal of fun. There are also there are special techniques you can follow called bestseller campaigns to get your book listed as a bestseller on Amazon. And so these are things that are fun to do, but to me they come after the launch. Get your book out there, get that initial launch done, and then have fun with it later on as you're continuing to build the audience. The key is to get it out there in front of as many people as you can.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Kenny. And is there any words of encouragement you want to share as we begin to wrap up for people who are getting excited about writing their books?
Okay, yes, I do have a word of encouragement. My word of encouragement is don't do it alone. Writing is a solitary exercise. We know that. I write. I mean, I'm a writer. So I do write. Understand that solitude is necessary and a part of it. However, the greatest joy in writing the book, in the process of writing the book, is getting the feedback and getting the different point of view and perspective that someone else can give you as you're writing. And of course, always, it never hurts to have extra eyes to catch the things that you miss. But we're not focused on editing today. We're focused on the writing. So share it. Don't give it away, but share the process with people you trust.
Awesome. Now, Candy, let our listeners know how they can reach you. You know, Candy, the Writer Success Coach.
KZ, thewritersuccesscoach.com.
Awesome.
CAZ at the Writer Success. I can't even say it. You can find me at my website is thewritersuccesscoach.com. Okay. And so that's probably the easiest way. And always connect with me. I've got links on there to connect by just jumping on my calendar. Also, connect with me on Facebook. I'm there all the time.
Awesome. Thanks so much for just sharing about launches with our audience today, Candy.
I have enjoyed this so much, Chris. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Well, have a great day.
I will. You do the same. Bye-bye now.
Hey, author. Chris here. I want to tell you about a program that I'm really excited about called Group Gold. For a long time, I would post on my Facebook fan page only to find crickets. Very few interactions, very few connections. That is before I discovered Facebook groups through the program Group Gold. Facebook Group Gold program is the most complete one of its kind to help you grow, engage, and monetize your Facebook group. Mark Mawhinney, the program creator, will walk you through every aspect of how to create, manage, and run your Facebook group so that your tribe is coming to you. Makes it easier, doesn't it? When you've got people interacting with you because they want to be there. That's the beauty of Facebook groups over Facebook fan pages. Ever since I started the Facebook Group Gold program, I've been growing my group, building my audience, and I've got people in there who are active and who want to be there, hanging out with me every single day. You can have that too. Just visit my website, www.readyrightlaunch.com, and under the offer tab, select Group Gold. Then you can see for yourself the magic of Facebook groups.